Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey here with a preview of the Cowboys-Falcons game, fresh off a disastrous showing against the Denver Broncos. I don't think this is a trap game for the Cowboys against the Falcons because, as it turned out, last week was the trap game for Dallas. Atlanta's fresh off a surprising win over the New Orleans Saints. Dallas, meanwhile, their numbers overall for the season are still good. If I had told you the Dallas Cowboys were 6-2 entering Week 10, we'd all be feeling pretty good. The way they got there makes us feel a little bit less good. Despite the bad showing last week, Dallas is still a 10-point favorite at home, which is fairly significant since, well, it's been a while since they won a game by 10 points. Yes, they did against the Giants in Week 5. They did not do it against the Panthers thanks to a, let's call it what it was, garbage time rally by Carolina. They held on somehow against the Patriots in overtime, that crazy game. I almost said a bad word there, and producer Brett does not like it when I swear. The Vikings, meanwhile, they won with Cooper Rush. They stole a game they should have lost, and then immediately gave it right back against the Denver Broncos. The Falcons, meanwhile, are a pretty interesting team. They've actually already played their other 3 NFC East games all in the first 4 weeks of the season. Blowout bad Week 1 loss against the Falcons. Blown out by a great Bucs team. Barely beat the Giants, a game they probably should have lost. And then barely lost to Washington, a game they probably should have won. Then, since that Week 4 loss, they've been a much better football team. They went on they took on the Jets in London. They won 27-20. Then they beat the Dolphins 30-28. A loss against the Panthers was a not great one, a low-scoring affair. They did beat the Saints. Now, to be fair, that Saints team does not have Jameis Winston, and the Trevor Siemian magic did kind of die out, but the Falcons sit now at 4-4. This is a game the Cowboys should win. Frankly, they should win it fairly easily. But my question mark here is whether or not this is going to be a game they do end up winning. So here's my first question for you guys, one of several on today's show. Is this a must-win game for the Cowboys? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Type in Y for yes or N for no. Look, the Cowboys laid an absolute egg last week. They were horrible, terrible, no good, very bad day on pretty much every player and every coach. Now it is time to see what this team is made of. It's okay to lose football games. You are never going to win every game the rest of the way. But the way you lost and to who you lost is what raises those concerns. And if the Cowboys want that number 1 seed, which I do, or as we'll get into, at least not the number 4 seed, which everyone here should really, really want and desperately covet, you got to start winning games. Because this next little batch of the schedule is fairly pivotal, especially for seeding. Falcons this week at the Chiefs, and I am terrified that will finally be the get-right game for Patrick Mahomes. Week 12, Thanksgiving against the Raiders. I need that one on a personal level quite badly here at Chat Sports. At the Saints on Thursday Night Football, always tough with that tightly compressed schedule the Cowboys deal with right there. And then at Washington. Yeah, you should win the division, but we have higher expectations. I think the team does as well than just winning the NFC East and getting the number 4 seed and losing in the first round of the playoffs. That's not what I'm looking for this season. Now, as mentioned, the Cowboys are a 10-point favorite. The over-under set at 53.5. So it is a fairly high-scoring affair expected. The Falcons' defense is not that great. The Cowboys' offense hopefully gets right. So with that over-under and the spread in mind, predict the score for me of the Cowboys against the Falcons. I'm going to give my score prediction here momentarily. But before I give mine, I want to hear from you guys. This question is the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, head down there and predict the score. I might regret this one, but I've got the Cowboys winning and also covering the spread. I hope the offense figures things back out. This Falcons defense is not nearly as good, even at their best, than the Denver Broncos defense is. So I've got the Cowboys winning 34-20. Please do not make me sad, Dallas. I was not in a good mood last Sunday. Let's hope that changes this time around. Now, as mentioned, despite the bad showing, Dallas still controls by a significant margin the NFC East right now. They are 6-2. Nobody else is all that close. In fact, the best record is 3-6. So Dallas should win the division easily. But that's not necessarily the main goal right now for Dallas. It's the shorter-term goal. But look at what the playoff picture suggests right now. You got 5 really good football teams. Cardinals, Packers, Bucks, Cowboys, and yes, the Rams, who also lost on Sunday. The Cardinals did not. Big deal for them. What you desperately have to avoid if you are the Cowboys is the 4 seed. Who here wants to play the Rams or the Cardinals in the first round of the playoffs? I do not. I'm worried you'll end up losing that game. I would much rather face the Saints, Falcons, Panthers, somebody, the Vikings, the Niners, Seattle, whoever. I don't want to play the Rams. So for Dallas, you got to keep winning games. It's okay you lost the last one. It wasn't pretty, but moving forward, you can't lose those games that you're expected to win. Now, I bet on the Cowboys to cover the spread. By the way, I also took a fun parlay. Browns as the underdog and Chargers as well. They'll do that. And I tried to boost my stock by picking the Bills just money line and Cowboys money line. Oops, that ended up being an absolute disaster for me. Now, you can fade me or follow my picks or bet on or against the Cowboys by going to BetUS. Chatsports.com/bet. The promo code is Cowboys125. If you feel good about this being the Cowboys' year to win the NFC title, still pretty solid odds. They actually didn't change from last week. Still plus 400 behind the Bucks and Cardinals, and also tied with the LA Rams. And because the Cowboys lost, and even my bosses felt bad for Cowboys fans this week, we're going to extend the Cowboys jersey giveaway. Again, 3 available options. The Dak Prescott Color Rush you see right here, along with CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott. Those 2 are in the Color Rush and the Navy jersey. Now, you can email us, jersey@chatsports.com, but there are steps that I am begging you to follow. Number 1, you got to use promo code Cowboys125 at chatsports.com. Otherwise, things don't work well at all. You have to put down at least $100. That gets you the 125% deposit bonus, plus makes you eligible for the Cowboys jersey. We'll need your BetUS account number, a screenshot of your first bet, your shipping address, jersey selection, etc. You can send all that information to jersey@chatsports.com. But I beg of you to please follow the instructions because our hit rate is about as good as it was. I got my boss looking at me like this right now. He's going like that, throwing me off my game. Apparently, I'm in trouble when you guys don't follow instructions, teacher or whatnot. So please just follow them and don't let me get yelled at by my bosses. Let's move now to Tyron Smith and the offensive line because, as I jokingly but not really jokingly said on Twitter, the Dallas Cowboys now take on a 4-win Falcons team in November with a potentially backup left tackle who moved positions the same year that got blown out by the Broncos. That's very similar to the disastrous Chaz Green game. Smith missed last week, bone spur in his ankle. Mike McCarthy said it's not a long-term issue. Stephen Jones says they weren't going to rule him out this week. I'm not overly confident that Tyron Smith goes against an admittedly not great Falcons defense. I think Adrian Clayborn wasn't good either. The Cowboys started Terence Steele last week at left tackle, which I was okay with. He's played left tackle before, and on top of that, the coaching staff earned some trust. The problem was in the actual game against a 7th-round rookie edge rusher, Terence Steele allowed more sacks, almost the same number of hits, and more hurries in one game at left tackle than his entire season this year on the right side. Steele was a disaster. And frankly, Lyle Collins didn't play that much better either. So now we're right back where we were last week. Who do you play at left tackle? Do you roll with Terence Steele and Collins as that same 1-2 punch at left tackle, right tackle? Do you pray Tyron Smith is back? Do you throw Ty Nsekhe out there? He wasn't great when he had to play when Smith first went down, but he was probably better than Steele was. So let's bring back this question. I'm curious how your votes have changed in the past week or so. Pick a left tackle for me. Type TN for Ty Nsekhe. Type in LC for Lyle Collins, or type in TS for Terence Steele. I don't know if there's a right answer. Don't know if there's a wrong answer. So head down to the comments and let me know what you think. Let's go to Michael Gallup, who for the past 2 weeks we've asked, is this the week Gallup comes back? Well, finally, I think we're here. He should return this week for the Cowboys. His 21-day practice window is about to close, so it's either keep him on IR for the rest of the year or bring him back to the roster. Guess which one they're going to do. Gallup has not played since week 1 of the NFL season. Despite not having Gallup out there, the Cowboys have still had pretty good play out of their wide receivers. Of course, we know Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, last week mostly notwithstanding, have been awesome this season. And Cedric Wilson, meanwhile, has been a very nice surprise for Dallas. He's got 19 catches, 280 yards, and of course 3 touchdowns this season. He's been able to make some nice plays after the catch with the ball in his hands. And now the question, the situation is, how do you handle getting Gallup back to a receiving corps that already goes 3 deep with Cedric Wilson as well? My suspicion here is that you could see a heavier wide receiver rotation. The Cowboys' MO this year has been to rotate safeties, or players coming back from injury, I should say, a bit more heavily in their first game back. They did with Donovan Wilson at the safety position, for example. So maybe Gallup doesn't get the same number of snaps he was going to get in week 2 had he been healthy. Maybe you still rotate in Wilson. And maybe you rotate out Lamb and Cooper to keep those guys fresh and healthy as the year goes on. We'll see if I'm right or wrong come game day, which, as you guys should know by now, we'll be live for with one of those fun watch parties we like to do here on the Cowboys Report. If you want to join us for a game that I don't think, by the way, is going to be nationally televised again, head down and subscribe for free to the Cowboys Report. Some more injury notes I want to hit here, kind of rapid fire. Ezekiel Elliott, he left the game a few times with an apparent knee injury. He had a heat wrap on it during the game. He said he was fine. I think he was more mad about the way the game went than that little knee issue. He returned to the game late, then left when everyone but Dak was out there off field for skill positions. Different conversation. He looked just fine. Nothing to be concerned about on that front. Meanwhile, Dak Prescott. Now, I don't think Dak was limited by the calf. He felt no issues. He ran around the pocket a lot more than you want, but he moved around just fine. And Dak says it wasn't rust. I am inclined to agree with him. Frankly, I think the answer here is the simplest one. They just sucked that game. Look, if he does it again, I have some concerns, but I don't think the calf was the issue there for Prescott and the Cowboys. Other injury updates here as several players remain on that IR or PUP list. In Tristan Hill's case, he's almost back. He could return this week. DeMarcus Lawrence, I wonder, and we'll go more into him in just a second, if he ends up being designated to return this week. Neville Gallimore, I hope at some point soon. Those are maybe 3 of your closer to return guys. Then your 4 guys who are not back yet. Maurice Kennedy, Brent Urban have 1 more week at least before they can come back. Concussion for Kennedy, a biceps injury for Urban. Blake Jarwin has 2 more games with a hip issue until he can come back. And then Josh Ball, who has really done nothing this year for Dallas. I get big-time redshirt vibes out of the 4th-round rookie from Marshall. Back to Lawrence, though. Does he play before Thanksgiving? Maybe a good over-under game there for Lawrence. As my producer Trace said before the show, if he comes back, it's Thanksgiving. So boo him in the comments if you want. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Does Lawrence come back before Thanksgiving? Before we go, some more thoughts on this particular game. As I kind of mentioned before, the Cowboys need this one. This is a gut check type of matchup. You should beat the Falcons. You should have beaten the Broncos. You did not. The Cowboys had pretty much nothing go right last week. They failed on the 4th down tries. They were awful on 3rd downs across the board. They couldn't stop the run. A punt block ended up resulting in Broncos points on that drive. Makes 0 sense. It was a wild game. The biggest concern for me long term was the run defense. And that's my main concern entering this game. Look, Kyle Pitts is awesome. He's going to be a factor as well. The Cowboys' run defense against Denver looked an awful lot like the 2020 run defense. And that's unacceptable. You can't let that happen. Now, 2 teams have tried to run the football really, at least consistently, and done it, the Broncos and the Patriots. The Falcons, with head coach Arthur Smith, like to try to run the football. Dallas has to wake up. They were sleepwalking through that entire game, and when the block punt ended up sticking with Denver, I think they were just deflated and they never had a chance in that one. Not only that, I think this Cowboys team bought their own hype. I think they were feeling good, feeling great, and they came out a little bit out of focus for the first time all season. That is a player problem, and it's a coaching staff problem. And this Cowboys team is in contention for significant seeding in the NFC. 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed. I don't want 4. To get that, you got to go win football games. Yeah, you could lose the Falcons, still win the NFC's control your destiny, sure, whatever. I don't want to back into the 4 seed and then get bounced by the Rams or Cardinals in the first round of the postseason. That's not something I have interest in. So go win this game. And by the way, folks, if you haven't already, headed down to the pinned comment, get your votes in there for me. Predict the score for me of the Cowboys and Falcons game.